Chris Cuomo here. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Welcome to NewsNation, where right and left come to be reasonable. It's tough to do that tonight. We just finished celebrating our country, right? The birth of we the people. Not us and them, not me, we. But even on the 4th of July, we saw how weak some are making us. Why did the flooding in Texas immediately become a blame game on social media? What happened to just mourning the dead in a natural disaster? Spreading awareness of what is needed by the communities and how you can help. Just pulling for the rescue of the missing. Can't anything escape the prism of partisan advantage? Forget about me saying we're going to expose the game, see the game. Forget about the game. Feel the shame. This is disgusting. I don't even know if we're a country anymore. What brings us together? What is our common concern? We're just dueling factions of fanatics. There's no more of this. We're not a fist. We're just fickle fingers looking for triggers to pull, literally and figuratively. You got 109 or whatever the number is right now, dead in Texas. The number's going to go up. 160 missing. How is this not just a point of empathy and sympathy? Children's dead bodies being recovered all day Saturday. And then this Houston pediatrician writes, may all visitors, children, non-MAGA voters, and pets be safe and dry. Are you effing kidding me? They deny climate change? I mean, since when is death not more important than your politics? Even if you think policy, decisions, rhetoric, leaders had something to do with the outcome, why does it become tantamount to that outcome? Democratic Senator Chris Murphy, I've been trying to get him on the show. Now I don't want him. Accurate weather forecasting helps avoid fatal disasters. That's what you say? There are consequences to attacking meteorologists? You really believe that that's what this was about? You really think that's what your constituents want? For you to take a cheap shot at dead kids to score points against Trump? Wow. And guess what? The Union for the National Weather Service, and they've been critical of Trump's cuts, and I'm not saying there's not reason for criticism, but it's about perspective. The union says there was adequate staff at the time in Texas, and meteorologists are not faulting the National Weather Service. They're noting that they began to escalate the flood warnings as much as 12 hours in advance of the floods. So shut up, Murphy. We have to see that the interests of the many are being held hostage by the obsessions of the few on both sides. They are killing us. One day after the floods, a name I wish I never knew, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, said that it was intentional, the flooding. It's the dangerous and deadly practice of cloud seeding. Only psychos play with this kind of conspiracy, in my experience. I can't believe one is a member of Congress. They've been seeding clouds for decades. Minutes later, this Republican congressional candidate posts fake weather, fake hurricanes, fake flooding, fake. I mean, man, you talk about pick-me energy. And if you think I'm taking it too far, okay, or that there's false parity, false equivalency, that needs to die, okay? The constant division and extreme partisan hectoring and hostility is absolutely a catalyst for violence. Look at the recent attacks. The facts make my case. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care about which side is yours and that you've bought into this false investment of superiority over some other side because you think they're crap. They've all been politically motivated. Even as the floods raged and we were celebrating the 4th of July, just a few hours north in Texas, American young males and females, no yalla, okay, no beards and turbans and all the other silly stereotypes of bad guys. American-made terrorists ambushing an ICE facility in Texas. They were there to kill ICE agents on Independence Day. Look at this. Oh, but the college campuses was... These are here. This is what it is. This is what is driving the populism on the left. Americans acting like ISIS, wearing all-black military-style clothing, drawing the ICE agents out with fireworks and antics. And then when they came out, they had a guy positioned with an Armalite-style rifle, shooting them, spraying bullets. They found the rifles, the clips, the body armor, the two-way radios, the Faraday bag, to block signals. This is it, man. This isn't some random thing. Fight ICE terror with class war. Free all political prisoners. Resist fascism. Fight oligarchy. Oh, where did I hear that before? Oh, yeah, the AOC and Bernie rallies. You're not blaming them? No, I'm not blaming them personally. I actually think AOC and Bernie both care about the middle class. I don't agree with their remedies. I think socialism is political suicide in a capitalist economy in America. That's not the point. They and others on the left fringe have ratcheted up the hatred for Trump and his administration and ICE and DOJ. And you know it. It's not just that they're bad policy, that they're bad moves, that they're bad appointments. It's that they're bad people, that they are immoral, that they are evil, that they deserve bad things to happen to them. It sounds more like they want to put down a rabid dog than that they have a political disagreement. And this is where extreme talk leads. Just like with Trump and other fringe fanatics trafficking in extremism, I'm not calling him a fanatic, but he has fanatics that hear what he says. I think the president is one of the best instinctual political animals I've ever seen in my experience. His ability to not just read a room, but read a reality. The grievance is real. He tapped into it. He knew what would make people believe, and he is doing what he told them and you that he would do. But the hot talk, the making everybody an enemy, it is making us crazy. The parties have been consumed by extremism. The system is toxic. Yes, they are the few, not the many. And if the majority would just come out and brave this situation and condemn it and say, we want reasonable. I'm going to reward reasonable. I'm going to shout down anything else. I'm going to tell you to shut up. It's not what I voted for. The extremists will become the sideshow where they belong. The best contribution Elon has made to this administration is pitching changing the political system to add parties. The two-party system is toxic and rife with extreme talk and tactics. It must be changed. And before you tell me again with the false equivalency, the Democrats aren't the same as MAGA. What Democrats? You mean the populist movement on the left that is the MAGA mirror? Where are the Democratic leaders talking about the attack on ICE? Where's AOC? Where's Bernie? You can't shut them up. But now they don't have anything they want to say, right? Why? Because it's all about advantage all the time, and they think if they ignore it, there'll be no connection. The talk is toxic. And this is not about denying the legitimacy of the outrage in America. All right? It is real, it is justified, and I believe it's getting worse. I get why many wanted Trump to do what he promised to do during the election, even if I disagree with the policies and the impact of the rhetoric. And there is as much righteousness coming at him as he is sending out. The economy is not as promised in large part because of what Trump has forced. And no, I don't measure our reality by Wall Street. Investors are still the minority. Main Street matters. People are suffering. Strong businesses that are small and that we need are being compromised. Deportations are way more than just scooping up bad hombres. The way they're doing it and where they're doing it and how often they're doing it has become aggressive and oppressive. It risks hurting communities and demonizing all when the problem is some. But using violence against the agents? ICE agents have been under constant threat this year. Assaults are up almost 700%. So, back in Central Texas, we see something that I see all the time, covering tragedies in this country. Worst of times brings out the best of us. And you're seeing that. The local community, the Americans that come from all over the country. One of my buddies here volunteered to go down and help FEMA stay safe while doing their job. But you have to look at the full scope. You got to see the people who are celebrating dead Trumpers. You got to see the people who are scamming, people whose kids are missing. Calling the families of missing kids, telling them they found their kid and demanding money to return them. Get pissed at that. Savage that. Savage the people who have forgotten their humanity, who have forgotten the only pronoun that matters in this country, who have forgotten the signature command, the golden rule as delivered by who we always thought was the president to kind of hold up as the first because he set the standard in Washington until Trump said that he's better than him. Be a country, that is all. You cannot look at what is happening and think that we are not killing ourselves. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.